Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Petal Talk. I am your host, Allison Crowder, and today we have a dear friend of mine on. We have Miss Kaley.
Hi, welcome to Petal Talk, where skincare meets soul care.
And I'm so excited for her to be here. I'm so excited for this episode. This episode is for my corporate girlies. This episode is for my office baddies who are passionate about being so excellent in their career at a young age. Kaley has a really cool story, and Kaley has a really cool job. And I just can't wait to get into all the details because you and I could not have further opposite experiences. And I love hearing, I always say this, I love hearing about how people make their money, and I love hearing about how people get to where they are. Mm-hmm. And you have such a fun story, and you are so cool. And you're very inspiring, and I just want to hear all the details. So for those who might not know you, share a little bit more about who you are, a little bio, so to speak, and then we'll get into the details. So tell me a little bit about you. What do you do? What are your deets?
Yeah, so I work in the nonprofit world, which I love, and we can get into more later. But I am the Director of Strategic Initiatives at a local foundation here, the Winter Park Health Foundation. And I've been in this role since January, which has been a super fun transition period. You know, lots of highs and lows in that, but... what else? I'm born and raised Central Florida.
You have a dog?
Yes, I have a dog. I have a little baby. I got married almost a year ago to the day.
So crazy.
Yeah, and we have a dog, and so me, my husband, and my dog are just our own little family right now, having so much fun and, doing all the things.
Just living it up.
Yeah.
You work in nonprofit. Growing up, did you have anyone that worked in nonprofit, or how did you come into that world? Because it's not always people's first choice, and so how did you even get awareness of this industry?
Yeah. So
do you call it an industry? I guess it kind of is.
It's a nonprofit sector.
Okay, sector. Okay, that's what I'm looking for.
But you can call it industry.
Sure.
Too. So that's such a long-winded thing because I graduated high school a year early.
Okay, so let's go back to all that then. Okay, so when you're a child, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh,
probably not this.
Be a veterinarian.
Okay, sure.
And that
we love animals.
Kind of trickled into my graduating high school early. I just didn't love high school, and so I dual enrolled. It was kind of a natural thing for me to just be
That's
okay,
cool.
I got all my credits. I'm going to move on with my life.
Were you 17? Mm-hmm. I also graduated when I was 17. Yeah, because I was trying to GTFO.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So, graduated early. I applied to SCAD and got in. I thought I was going to go to SCAD, did the whole campus tour and whatever. At that point, I thought I wanted to do fashion, marketing, merchandise.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
even
girl.
know. Yeah.
I don't even really know. Then changed my mind again. Thought I wanted to be a vet tech. Was shadowing at a local veterinary office.
So you love animals.
Yeah. Then was no, I'm going to be a marine biologist and I'm going to work at SeaWorld.
Oh.
And
that's my mom's dream job.
One chemistry class. Yeah. I mean, it's still my dream job. I'm just
Is
not
it really?
smart enough for
That's so fun.
But
yes, you are.
No, I took
no, you are.
Math and science are not my thing.
Okay, fine.
I went to a liberal arts college.
That's right.
So, yeah, I thought I wanted to do marine biology. That didn't work out. And then, so I just decided, okay, I'm going to finish out my AA at Valencia, local community college. Okay. And then my dad is the one who really pushed me to apply to Rollins, which is where I got my undergrad. And I interviewed and I got in and I was doing the night school. And so that was a whole lot of, So
that's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, I was serving and then going to school at night.
Sure.
And then eventually got an internship. And so when I started there, I declared my major as communication with a minor in public relations, or a specification in public relations. And thought that I wanted to work in the corporate world and work at the theme parks and do public relations. And then at Rollins, a lot of your classes are focused around service learning.
Sure.
Which I think is a really cool application. So I worked with a lot of nonprofits in my undergrad.
Okay.
Doing projects for them.
Okay.
A lot of like pro bono work, if you will.
Sure.
Whether or not, it was, implemented is a completely different story.
Right.
But,
right.
Real world application with nonprofits. And I remember one of the first organization we worked with was a local one called, of course they're all local, New Hope for Kids.
Okay.
And they help kids mourn like a loss, and
wow.
they come in and they provide bereavement services, grief services. And I don't know how anyone can go into their facility and hear about them and not come out a changed person.
Yeah. Oh, I give you goosebumps.
So it was really through multiple situations like that of being partnered with organizations and realizing like, I don't want a career in the corporate world. Like I want a community first, service oriented job.
Kaley, do you know that you and I have almost identical stories as to why I chose beauty school?
No.
Do you know this?
No.
I'm going to tell you really quickly. Not that you asked, but I think it is cool because I enrolled in a bunch of colleges after high school because I also graduated early and I wanted to just go.
Yeah.
And I was really passionate about the wrong thing. Lights, camera. I was going to California. That's all I cared about. Like fashion was what I was going to school for as well. And then my mom has always had a lot of volunteer. I don't even know the right way to verbalize it, but like she's always put that first. We've gone on many, many trips, service trips, and she had an opportunity with this company to go to India.
Okay.
And so I went to India for the summer after I graduated from high school.
That's
I went
incredible.
to India, Ireland, and London. And we did a lot. It was all giving back, right? It was like all, how can we be of service? And I left that trip and I was like, I can't do this California craziness anymore. Like I need something fulfilling. Yeah. And that's actually how I found the beauty school that I went to, Aveda, because it was the only place I could find that had glitz and glam, which is like so me, but also had like some heart.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose Aveda. Isn't that crazy?
That's incredible.
And Aveda gave back to many, many different places every year, like childhood cancer, like St. Baldrick's, they did the Tim Tebow prom situation every year. They did clean water efforts, all of these different things, charity water, Western Resource Advocates, like all of these things. Yeah. And I was like, this is all I care about. And I mentioned that because you said, I don't know how someone can go into that and then not leave changed. I so felt like that when I came back from India. I was like, no, I'll never be the same. I am completely different. And I know that, sometimes I can be like glam and drama, whatever, but no, deep in my core, I have never been the same.
I mean, you guys are like doing the Lord's work here, like for
no,
sure.
Seriously,
on a different level. Like you help people like find their best versions of themselves, and I think that's such a unique thing.
And it's really, really intimate, and people don't always look at it like that. But if we can make you feel your best, so you can save the world, that's all that matters, right?
Well, yeah, and people come in here and you're like their therapist.
Oh, for sure.
I
know everyone's secrets.
Yeah, it's just like any, you're going to get your hair done. Like,
totally.
So it's so
it's just cool. So. It's cool to be able to recognize two things, which is, yes, those things are fun, but the real stuff also matters.
Right. Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. I think it's a crazy mental shift when you're like, I'm going after the fulfilling career, which... is not always the most like financially abundant and
or glamorous
like
or like
exactly
pretty or like nice.
Exactly.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you decide you are working with this grief.
Yes.
I can only imagine like how challenging that was.
Yeah. So we do this project for and I cannot even remember what the project was. I just remember how it made me feel.
Sure.
And so I got my internship in communication at the Orlando Economic Partnership, which is where I was kind of up until early this year. And at the time I thought, being someone that wanted to advocate for those who necessarily didn't have a voice, I thought I wanted to get into politics. And so started their communications intern, switched into public policy and advocacy, and then the pandemic hit and it was 2020 and I was set to graduate. And so that changed a lot.
Right.
But still, it was 2020, so it was kind of perfect. It was an election year. And my now boss connected me with someone who got me into campaigns. I met my future boss there, worked on her campaigns. And so through that, you still get like the servant's heart of it, because you're advocating for your community.
Right.
You're going after, line item budgets for them. And also organizations are coming to you and asking for money. So it was kind of like the perfect mix of all the things that I really loved.
Did you like politics?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have liked it more if I was working for a representative whose political views aligned with my own. Yeah. That was the hard part. It was
I'm sure that's hard.
Taxing in that way.
Yeah.
But in our world and in our current state, and this is just how it goes, like you have to work for the majority
for sure
to kind of get anywhere in your political career. And at that time, I thought that's what I was going after. And then I don't know, as my then boyfriend at the time, now husband, got more serious, and he graduated that a little bit after me. It's just priorities shifted again. And I was like, I need to be home. I need roots here. Yeah. And
you guys have been together for a long time, yeah?
Yeah, we've been together since 2019.
Okay, yeah.
So, not super long, but not
that's
super
like,
short.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And you guys, this was before you moved, or did you move during all of this? You moved somewhere on the East Coast?
Yeah, we moved down south to Port St. Lucie, and that was during that time. So I was with her until the beginning of 2023. Okay. So, two-ish
Sure.
years.
And then you moved back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we moved back because Jake got a job here. Yeah. And so everything just kind of like fell into place after that. Yeah, for sure. I would attribute a lot of my career things of like, yes, my drive and my want to be good and successful, but also just like right place, right time.
Yeah. I think that's what makes it feel really like the right decision, when it feels effortless, right? Because if you're always jumping through all these hoops or things are just coming up short, it's like, this maybe just isn't for me, right? But when you do look and you're like, you know what, I'm okay with this, I kind of relinquish a little bit of the control and it works out, then that's your destiny. Yeah. Because it's hard to, especially, in your early 20s, mid 20s, I don't know.
No, I know. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, you tell me what I'm supposed to do, right?
Exactly.
And so feeling like, oh, not only does it kind of make sense, but I don't hate it. Okay, this is probably where I should be. Yeah. A little bit.
It's such a blessing, and I'm constantly reminded, like even my husband reminded me a couple weeks ago, like, you're so lucky that for so long you've known what you wanted to do. Yeah. I recognize that's a fortunate place to be in, because not everyone has that. And that's neither here nor there. There's nothing wrong with that. But
I feel similar, right? I went to beauty school right after high school, and though I'm not doing the exact same thing that I went to school for, I also feel like I started making money right away. I started in a big girl job, in air quotes, right away. And I'm also aware that not everyone is like that, but it is something to be grateful for, that I didn't have to go to 5 different schools and have a million different jobs. Not that there's nothing wrong with that, but there is something to be said of, I've always known I was supposed to be in beauty or fashion, right? Something like textile.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm grateful I found it early, for sure.
Yeah, I love that for you. Okay, so when you were in high school, were you a good student? Did you like high school?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You did?
Oh no, I didn't like high school, but I've always been a really good student.
You like learning, or you like just like the academia, or you like pushing yourself, or what about like education, or do you like what is it?
Yeah, I like academic validation. I don't know I think part of me knows why, and it's because I'm a first generation graduate.
Sure.
So, my parents worked so hard to give me like the opportunities that they could. And so I've always wanted to be the best I can because of them. And so that's kind of pushed me. It's like, them being proud of me, and me just like pushing the bar, for myself and for future generations, because none of it would be possible without them.
Yeah. So that's really sweet.
So I don't know. I've always just enjoyed getting good grades.
Yeah, that's good.
It sounds crazy, and not that I haven't had my faults. I have 1B on my transcript for my master's that keeps me up at night.
You do?
Yeah.
Stop. What are classes in?
I don't even know.
Stop.
Something silly, probably.
Like, it's fine. It's fine. We just want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a B is better than a C.
C's do get degrees.
C's do get degrees, honey. I don't have one of those. It's totally fine.
Not an A.
It's not an A. No.
I don't know, but yeah. So.
You decide, obviously, to get your bachelor's, right? That seems to be kind of like, everyone's like, sure.
Yeah.
What makes you then decide to then push to get your master's?
So I was working in the legislature and
kind of where you left off after that.
Yeah. So I was working in the legislature and I had a group of girlfriends and it was coming towards the end of our first session and we were kind of all just talking about like, what are we going to do? Like, you know, because the summertime is notoriously kind of slow in the political world. Like everyone's taking their vacations and whatever, you know, as most people are.
Right.
And so, I don't know, we were all talking about it and one of the girls brought up like, well, I think that the state will pay for us to continue our education. So like, why don't we all, you know, look
around and get our masters.
Yeah, exactly. And so I found the nonprofit management program at UCF and never turned back.
Yeah.
And I will say, no tea, no shade to the other girls. I'm the only one that finished.
Okay, yeah, she said what she said.
So
she finished.
They had their own pass and they decided, you know, I think actually that's not true. One of my girlfriends did end up getting her like project management certification because she decided like going for her master's wasn't exactly aligned with where she wanted to go in her career. So yeah. So
the shift between, is it just another 4 years or is it like significantly more challenging of a 4-year program?
Yeah. So it takes most people 2 years.
Okay.
Like that's full time. It's 2 years. I did it in 4. So what was great about my program is that it was fully online.
Yeah.
And
that
so
is nice.
You really got to take your time and kind of, you weren't stuck to any sort of cohort, like strict schedule. Like it was what classes are available and what can you handle. Course load, right? They don't recommend taking more than 2 classes.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say that for me it was more challenging than undergrad, but I think that you leave with more skills than you do in undergrad. Like there's a lot of, I've read hundreds of case studies of nonprofit organizations that are just applicable things that I can see myself, you know, looking back on in the future. And so a lot of it is great. You know, some of it is unfortunately you have to look at the bad situations too of, you know, just mismanagement of leadership and funds and all of that. And so I would say the only thing that made it hard is, you know, being in such a busy time of your life, being in a job that was, you know, my career and that was a full-time job, being in school full-time and then
and you have your man,
you know, having relationships and, having friendships and, you know, all the things. And so I'm
what advice do you have to someone who is balancing all of those things?
Oh my gosh, keep pushing. Seriously, like I think I'm most proud of my resilience throughout all of this. And Destiny is the first one that said that to me. She's like, I'm so like proud of your resilience. And I never thought about it that way. But I think me taking 4 years to do it and like not giving up is insane. And so you just have to keep pushing.
It's major.
Yeah.
And being able to say that you did it all by yourself, it's your, you know, they always share that, you know, your education is something that no one can take away. And that's so true. Like you know, and there's nothing else that needs to be shared. Right. And you can just feel so vindicated in like, I did that and it's all by myself. And it's so cool. It's so seriously, like, it's just such a cool thing to say that you've done and to know all the time and hours, and you are very self-disciplined, and that is something that most people are not. And so being able to be proud of yourself, like, as you should. Seriously.
Yeah, it's earlier in the semester, I wasn't feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm getting my master's and this is the most incredible thing ever.
Sure.
It's really been in the last couple of weeks of like turning in the last assignment and everyone acknowledging it and like saying that they're proud of me. Like, those are the things where I'm like, okay, maybe I do have
it's a big deal
to be like proud of.
Yeah, you absolutely do.
So,
yeah, girl.
It's you know, it's
very cool.
You want to be like humble about it for sure. But I'm like, also like, not a lot of people do have a master's, and so I do feel proud.
Yeah, as you should. Yeah. No,
and again, like, my dad helped me with the like cost wise, and so it's just really cool to be able to say that other people's like time, energy, and effort that they put into supporting me, whether it's financially or just like mentally, emotionally, through all of like the breakdowns and things, paid off because I did actually finish it. So it's really, and now I'm in my kind of dream job ish, right? And like now I get to be all of these things that I always wanted to be. Yeah. When you decided to kind of take a step back from politics and that kind of world, what did that transitional period look like, and what did you do next, and how did you kind of come to where you're at now? What did that look like? Yeah, so everything really came full circle. When I had decided that I was going to start looking for jobs that were local. Were you engaged at this time? Or were you about to be engaged? Gosh, or were you? But I was engaged. I was engaged. Like, so you're planning a wedding and finding a new job in December, and then I like started my new job in January. Okay, so it was before I was engaged. Okay, I would say that I started having the appetite to. But so you're like, we are probably going to get married, and I want something different. Exactly, and I had said that I wanted to get married in 2024. So, kind of. Did you got married in 2024? Yeah. Oh my gosh, you did. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Yeah. I feel like you've been married for so long. I know. And it really has not been that long, but it feels like forever. It feels like forever, but it also feels like a blink of an eye. It's crazy. Yeah, I know that's how it goes. Yeah. But so we got engaged in December, and I was interviewing heavily for a position that I didn't get ultimately, which ended up working out. And so the guy that I had mentioned earlier that connected me to the politics, he was working at OEP before, where I was interning. And we never really like crossed paths, but he had always said like, reach out to me. And so through that mutual boss that we both shared that he connected me to, let me know that he was looking for an executive assistant. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like I'll go and be his executive assistant. At the time I didn't know that he had also got his master's in nonprofit management. Sure. And so I went and met with him, and we just kind of hit it off instantly. And started the job later in January. And so really through his leadership of just like understanding the place that I was in my life, like, okay, I'm engaged. Not only am I planning a wedding, I'm working on my master's. He got the master's, so he understood that on a different level. And just his willingness to like bring me into anything that he could was really cool. And we related on a lot of levels, which was very nice and unique, I think. Again, like at right place, right time, like him needing an assistant and all of that. So he, eventually I got promoted to associate director of strategic initiatives. Okay. And then he left the organization and went to go work where I now work. Yeah. And so that's how I got there. So I did a couple months of that. And I loved it, and I loved everything about that job. And I think it's so unique for somebody to intern there, leave, and then find their way back. Right. It just, again, was like right place, right time, right moment. Right. And like, it was clearly you had more things to learn, and like opportunities present themselves. When you talk about these positions, can you kind of share a little bit more about what that actually looks like kind of on a day-to-day basis, or like what the public might grasp a bit more of like what you're doing? Yeah, so I would say as an executive assistant, I was a little bit more unique in the way of like, I didn't just do admin work. Right. Of course, I did do his calendar, and we worked on that level, but it was a lot of internal like strategy and planning too. And so that's kind of what led to the natural progression of me being the associate director of strategic initiatives. So kind of started with him, and it just naturally led there. Like I was picking up a lot of different things kind of, on your on the application, like as other duties as a sign. Everyone jokes about it, but it's so true. And those are the things but that's like when you learn. That's like the on the job. That's the best part. Yeah. Those are the things that like add to your reservoir of skills. And so I just continued to say yes to opportunities. And the associate director of strategic initiatives was a role that he created for me, and that the leadership there was supportive of as well. So it was just, all in all, I've been very fortunate that there's people that have recognized my work ethic and have supported me and have wanted me to continue to grow. And so when he left, I still worked there for a little while as the associate director under a new boss, and loved working with her. She gave me a different perspective, working under a woman and working under a man is very different.
Very different, yes.
Yeah, and so she, I don't know, like she was like beauty, grace, grit, like all of the things. Just a very strong leader, and still is. I don't mean to say this in the past tense. She still is.
Yes.
She's incredible.
Yes.
But she taught me a lot about, you know, it's okay to like for emotional things to happen. Like it's just a natural thing as a woman. Unfortunately, we lead with our heart in that way. And she just, I think, gave me that grit, and I'm still working on it. I'm not perfect at it, but you know, those responses and just those little things to be more resilient in the workplace. Yeah. And so I'm super grateful for the time I got to spend with her. But it was, you know, only a matter of time. I was coming up on graduation this May, and so that was like the end of last year in 2024. And it was only a matter of time where I knew that I was going to want to leave, whether or not, you know, my old boss was there or not. It was just, you know, kind of a matter of time of wanting to go back into a more service-oriented organization. OEP did a lot of economic and community development, and so there was still a lot of aspects of that. And I got to meet a lot of nonprofit partners. They were our investors. It was just a different side of it where I wanted more of that direct connection to service. And so when he left and the opportunity came for me to go and follow him, it was honestly a no-brainer. And I didn't know it at the time that this is a job that most people dream of in my position. Just in the way of, I think when people think of working in the nonprofit sector, it's all about like continuous fundraising and like fighting for your own paycheck, and all of those things are so true for hundreds of nonprofits here. And total respect and admiration for the people that do that every single day. But I find myself in the fortunate side of it where I'm in the foundation philanthropy work, and so we get to give money to the organizations that are doing that. And it's just, again, a full circle moment of giving back to the organizations that get to do the really cool work.
Tell me about your company. Tell me your mission, and then break down a little bit more about what you do, and then break down a little bit more about kind of how you're able to trickle into so many different areas in the city.
So at the Winter Park Health Foundation, our goal is to essentially just make the healthiest communities, and that's kind of it's health and well-being combined. And so we serve Winter Park, Maitland, and Eatonville. We have like extended outside of those kind of boundaries. We're not tied to them in any way. But we are a hospital conversion organization. And so we spawned from what was Winter Park Memorial Hospital that turned into Florida Hospital that is now Advent Health Winter Park's campus. And so we have a really close relationship with them. A lot of our endowment and funding is tied to that location, actually. And so we give a lot of support to their nursing programs specifically. So however they want to do like their leadership conferences or just their nursing recognition in general, we give money to them. And then we have our other side of our grant making, which is the smaller organizations that fall into that footprint. Orange County Public Schools is one that we've had a long-standing partnership with, that we give dollars to for the Coordinated Youth Initiative, which is youth mental health services. So we provide a mental health counselor in all of the schools that touch, again, those three cities or communities. And so there's lots of opportunity there to continue doing that and build upon that. And so what I do is a lot of internal and some external. And so as the director of strategic initiatives, I came in and did all of our corporate goal setting. And so we had our like 5 big corporate goals that our president and CEO wanted to hit. And I met with each of the teams to define those further on metrics, milestones. How are we going to quantify this? How are we going to
like realistic
show the impact
approach?
Of this? Yeah, exactly. Created the process for that, which has been going really well.
Good.
This is an organization that's been around for so long, and so they've kind of been hungry for new ideas and new perspectives and just a new way of doing things. And so it's been really cool. I was super nervous coming into the organization because I knew that was going to be one of the first things I was tasked with. And I was worried
especially like in January, right? It's like, that's your time to shine, girl.
I was worried that people are going to look at me and be like, who is this girl and why is she you know, telling us how to set our goals or how to, you know, quantify things and whatever. And it it was really just me being like, no, you're already doing these things, but let's just put it on paper.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Let's just guide it and let's map it out.
Yeah,
like,
and just clean it up a little bit.
Exactly.
I always say, which this is not the most like glamorous, but I always am saying it's too clunky. Like it needs to be more streamlined, right? And I feel like that's kind of where you're in the business of making things less clunky, right? What is like the quickest, cleanest, sharpest way that we can get from point A to point B and have everyone be on the same page, very clear, right? Exactly. And like that might not sound such like a large undertaking, but it actually really is.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of details that go into those numbers. And I always tell the girls that numbers tell a story. Obviously it's different, but there is so much that is to be said about those numbers. And if you're not aware of them, you can't push yourself or know even what to ask for or know what to do next because you're just not aware. Yeah, and that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't lead any sort of initiative without knowing how you're going to measure it.
Right.
I don't think. And sure, maybe not everything has a dollar amount or a specific number tied to it.
Sure.
But you can still measure, like, you know, the amount of touches that we have in the community or how many people are reaching, all of those things.
Right.
And so that's been a huge part of it. And then I also do all of our board services. And so we have an executive and governance committee, a board of trustees, and then our finance and investment committee, which that is mostly, finance and investment is mostly taken on by our CFO. So I do all of the meeting materials and organize the meetings for those. And so Board of Trustees is all of our governance. And so when we're talking about, you know, organizational planning and goal setting, all of those are being reported back to our board, which is very cool and very important work. And so that's something that I was doing in my prior role, and I really like that. I think it's a really cool way to connect with the people that are trusting you to fulfill this mission and do all the things. And so it just gives you a different relationship and you know, just kind of plugs you in a little bit more, which is fun. And then I've started doing some of our grant making. And so this, and I don't mean that in the way of like I've signed a check and it's you know, gone out the door. We'll get there eventually. Right. But again, going back to the whole, the organization is just like hungry for kind of a revamp. We
like a bit of a rebrand.
Exactly. We are going through just like, you know, a new identity in the way of how we do things internally and how we position ourselves externally. For so long, our organization was kind of like a silent donor, like in the shadows.
Okay.
Like only if you knew, you knew what we were doing and the organizations that we were giving to. And now we really want to shed light on that because we want partners to come to the table and force multiply what we have to give. Yeah. And so I'll go back to the grant making in a second, but the strategic plan is a big part of my role as well. And so I do all of the kind of like organizing and admin-ish work behind that with our consultants that we hired, and they were already hired and vetted before I was brought on. So that made it a little bit easier in the way of like, okay, let's just jump in and let's, you know,
get to work right away.
Map out what's going to happen. Yeah. And so that is a project that the executive team works very closely on, and then also our board of trustees. Yeah. And so again, just a collaborative effort, bringing everyone's like brains to the table and perspectives. And it's super fun when you bring in a consultant and an outsider, and people feel a lot more comfortable to share their true feelings, which is fun, and it's productive, and it's what we need. And so,
well, and then you get to see what's actually working and what isn't, right? Because you can all sit in a room and pick, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it's not until you do get those kind of real boots on the ground and get to really understand, like, no, this is not good. We need to change this, or we need to pivot here. And it's no fault of anyone's own, but we don't know those things unless you tell us, right? And so even just having the conversations, I'm sure can feel so, even if it's like negative, and I mean that loosely or whatever, at least we're talking about it, because how are you going to know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hard conversations.
I'm sure.
Like, there's a lot of my colleagues have been at the organization for years, and so you know they have different like personal ties to things. And so when you're talking about we're not talking about a huge overhaul or changing everything that we've ever been, but you know when you're questioning some of the things that haven't done, it's natural to kind of like get on the defense and want to defend this project, this initiative, or whatever it may be. And so I would just say, all in all, healthy conversations that have helped like me grow as well. Yeah. Because having a voice at the table, and also having kind of that outside perspective of not having the bias of knowing the organization for the last 30 years
totally
is cool. And it's just fun to be received, and all of my like thoughts and stuff to be received in that way. So
do you have any advice? Okay, because we're kind of at the age now where we are, you know, young professionals, and a lot of us are kind of in that sphere of maybe we are all post-grad and have only been in our big girl job, you know, in quotes, for a couple years. What advice do you have for people who are maybe struggling to have their voice, especially maybe as a woman, or like what thoughts or advice or questions, comments do you have for someone who is maybe in a similar position and is like, I just get like bulldozed every single day when I'm at work, or like my corporate job is like overwhelming because I have all these ideas, but no one listens to me. Like, what advice do you have for that? Because you do a good job of advocating for yourself and for speaking up for yourself, and that's not always so easy. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, it's hard. It's something that I'm working at every single day.
It's hard.
Like, it's hard going into an organization, not only as a woman, but as a young woman, and then coming in at an executive leadership level is, you know, adds a whole other.
Right. And she's beautiful, so there's that too. Beautiful and stunning and perfect. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's hard, and I don't know if I really have any good advice, because I don't feel like I can practice everything that I preach, because it's difficult. It's difficult to feel confident. I will say that I have gotten to the place in my career because so many people have believed in me, and they've reassured me that, like, no, there's a seat for you here. Like, I'm holding the chair out. Like, sit down. I want to hear what you have to say. And so I think, you know, if you're at an organization or at a point in your career where you don't have that, then maybe that's not the space for you, and that might not be the right answer or the most practical answer for everybody. But I do think that when you have leaders behind you that want to see you excel, want to see you leave the organization better than when you came, like, that is what helps me be like, okay, maybe I do know what I'm talking about.
No, I think that's actually beautiful advice, because it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier of things feeling seamless and feeling like they're supposed to be. And if someone is listening and they're like, it's not getting any better, right? Like, there's a difference between sticking it out because you have like a long-term goal and it's like only 1 year and I'll be fine, versus this is like kind of abusive or like really negative, right? Like, maybe like we just go somewhere else. Totally, right? There's a lot of factors that go into that for sure. But it is it's so fun to see. I don't know, I feel like maybe our generation just looks at business so differently. And I think maybe because too, a lot of our parents, I mean, I don't know your parents do for work, but I feel like a lot of our parents, I look at my parents and they both started their own businesses because they didn't really have any other choices, right? Like, didn't really go to school either and figured it out. And I feel like because of that, we, growing up kind of watching those types of things, I feel like our generation just looks at business so differently, and we have the age of the internet and anything can make you money, that we just look at things a bit differently. And I love to hear about big businesses taking on opinions from young people, because we are the demographic, are we not? Like, that is how the world is pivoting, and it's interesting.
Like the next generation of the workforce too.
Absolutely.
And so it's just, it's funny because I don't know if I'll ever be at a point where I'm managing somebody that's younger than me, you know, maybe like a few years down the line. And even my boss, our president and CEO, says, like, I'm the youngest person that he's ever managed in his career too.
That's crazy.
And he's only 10 years older than me. And so, you know, that's just kind of, like,
I'm sure he's like, that's crazy.
Very young. Like, him and I bond all the time over imposter syndrome. Like, so many times I'm sitting in a room or even like what I did today at the leadership conference, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here. Like, why am I here? I should not be here. And so, I think it's just going to be interesting to see like the new generation.
Oh my gosh, I know. But it will be so exciting because we just have so many more tools, I think, at our fingertips, just so much quicker, right? Even something as silly as like, I mean, I know this is like so silly, but even talking about like TikTok, right? But there's so many things you can learn from things like that. And, you know, I have all these random little pieces of, you know, knowledge. My mom is like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I talking about? You don't know this? That's crazy, right? But like, we just grew up with a different skill set.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, the digital age.
Yes, it's so different.
It definitely benefited us. I mean, there's
sure.
some downfalls to it too. Like some people don't
right,
know
lack
how to
of communication. Yeah, right.
You know, or have interpersonal relationships, and that's a whole other beast.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I just always have the mentality of like work smarter, not harder. And so like you have to adapt with technology and all things. And I think it's really cool when you see the younger generation come in and you're like, oh wow. You know, maybe like we all have things to learn from each other, and ChatGPT and AI and all of the things. Like we are pro like AI
so are we. Yeah,
usage.
we use AI for everything for us. And we're a spa, right? Like all of our communications, all of our digital phone, like all of it is vast majority is AI.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
I'm such an overthinker, and I get, you know, especially over email, because that's forever. Yeah. And so AI has helped me in the way of like, okay, let me just put this in here and see how I switch it up. But then there are some things where I'm like, no, that took the personality out of it. And so
I needed the extra exclamation point.
Yeah.
Have you seen those TikToks that are like me, like as a little girl, like sending an email like my male counterpart at work? Have you seen these? And it's like taking away the smiley faces, taking away the exclamation points, like removing it from like, hey, hope you're having a good day. Like, let me know if you have any questions. I'm like, you're so right. We need to quit doing that. But then there's times that I'm like, no, really, like heart emoji. Let me know if you have any questions.
It's such
because I want to be me too, but also like I'm getting business done too.
Right. Yeah. It's so hard, like the varying personalities, which I feel like we could talk about all day. Like I say to everybody that I know that I'm such a different person in my work life than I am in my personal life. I think that's super natural. Like I'm not upset by that or anything, but it's just so funny. Like I feel like our friend group would look at me in the office and be like, who is that?
Hello? Hey, Natalie.
No, exactly. But the emails
you just have to.
Are funny. Yeah.
Have you ever sent like a crazy email on accident, or do you have any like funny email stories?
No, I have too much anxiety for that. Like I've thankfully, like my digital footprint is already a little bit questionable from, you know, the 2010s and on. Thankfully, I've not had any like crazy email things. But I will say that some people have called me out for being dry in my emails.
Oh.
Other women have. Oh, yeah. And
because you don't add the extra exclamation points.
I think that part of that comes from learning majority of my career from a man.
Yes. I totally get that.
No shade, but just very direct.
Yes.
And I also tend to think that when I'm sending an email, I don't want it to be super lengthy. And so maybe I do sound more direct or more stern or whatever. And I like, I'm not always like, hey guys.
Hi, heart.
Happy Monday. Like, hope everyone's doing well. It's like, no, executive team, like, this is what we're doing today. Yes. Come prepared, XYZ. And so.
Sometimes that's nice though. Because like the fluff is nice too sometimes, but what has killed me in the past working in my corporate sphere, and obviously I don't do that anymore, but there's nothing worse too than a call that's all fluff that should have been an email. Yes. Right? Like that's torture. Yeah. And I'll take the cold email then. That's fine. If it means I don't have to have a call, or if that means I don't have to like have a meeting with you, give me the dry email, give me the cold email. Yeah. I'll take it. I don't care, right?
No, I know exactly. I like my communication direct and to the point and clear and concise. And so I try to get about you. I like people. That. But I throw an exclamation point and a smiley face when appropriate. But if I'm sending an agenda, you're probably not going to see.
See, now if I send a text to these girls and I didn't put hearts and twinkly emojis, they would be like, oh, Allison's pissed. Right? So funny. They'd be like, oh, no, something's really wrong. Right? But there are times where I'm like, yeah, I get it. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit, because I have my most favorite boss in my whole life. Oh my God, I could seriously get emotional talking about her. I loved this woman with every fiber, and she's still alive. I only worked for her for 3 years. I love this woman more than anything ever. Her name is Joanne Stevens. If you're hearing this, Joanne, I've never forgotten you.
Shout out, Joanne.
I love you. I used to think she was like my first like big boss, right? Also had a master's, I believe, in communications. Extremely transparent, quick, intelligent, but very kind and she reminds me a lot of kind of who you were referencing earlier. I learned so much from her, and I always found myself thinking like, what would Joanne say? How would Joanne do that? And I haven't worked for her since 2000. 18.
Yeah.
And I still find myself all the time, anytime I'm in a bit of like a pickly situation or like a little, feels a little bizarre, I always find myself thinking about like, how would have Joanne handled that?
Yeah.
When it comes to your career, and this woman has had an impact on my life, you know, all these years later, I'll never forget her. Do you have someone who's been like that for you? And if so, what lessons have they taught you? Or like what kind of imprint has that person left on your life?
Oh, that's so tough.
It is tough. This woman seriously changed my life. She changed the way that I speak about things. She changed the way that I processed things. I was really quick to get really emotional when I was like really young when I started working for her. Yeah. But I would be like really flustered really quickly, and I'm not like that anymore. I would like cry at work. I don't do that anymore, right? Like, and those are little things, but it's hard sometimes, right? When you're in like a big corporate job and it's like, hi, you just like bit my head off in front of all these people. How do I not?
Right.
Like I said, she just taught me like so much poise, I think is the best word that I could take from her. Then it's lasted me my whole life. So tell me, what if you have a situation similar? Tell me.
Yeah, I would say all of my bosses are all pieces of what you
I get that too. Yeah.
So my first boss in the legislature. Well, so actually, let me go back.
Yeah,
when I was an intern, I had two bosses in my internship that were very similar to what we've been speaking about, like just badass women.
Bad women. They're like, just the baddest girls out there.
And so from the very first interview, I had so much to learn. I didn't think that I was going to get the internship because they had asked me what the organization does and I couldn't tell them. And so that shows you.
Wait, that's hilarious.
The growth that I've had. Yeah.
What did you say?
I have no idea. I think I like blacked out and I didn't hear from them for months.
Stop.
And then.
You genuinely didn't know? No. Or do you think it's also because they don't make it so
maybe the website doesn't make it clear.
Sure.
But because I definitely looked at the website, but I wasn't in a space where I could comprehend what was being said on that website.
Yeah.
So that interview, because there was 3 people in it and she got up and left.
You're joking.
No. And
oh my God, I would have cried and I would have been so upset.
I definitely cried when I left. But we laugh and we joke about it now. And I'm so grateful for that experience because it taught me what not to do in an interview. Like, hey, if you really want a job or if you really care, like you should probably know a little bit more information or ask more. Exactly. And so then months later, to my surprise, when I got the call and she's
Were you so shocked?
Yes,
I'm sure. Yes.
But again, like I think that internship is what brought me where I am today. And so it was just, that was what was meant to be. And that was a lesson that I needed to learn. And like, she didn't even remember it. Like, that's crazy because that's a core memory for me. Yeah, I know. I was like, that is such a like building block in my career. And then so I had her for a while. And then when I made the transition to the policy and advocacy team, I had another just like really strong female boss. And then when I left and worked in the legislature, again, really strong female boss in a male-dominated industry or field. You know, we were riding such a high with her because we had like flipped the seat and the district that we were working in. And so there was just a different energy to her where, again, she was poised and she had grace and she was kind. But she was direct and like got business done and knew how to play with the best of them. And then when I started working for Nick, it's, you know, the opposite of that, but also in a good way because so many things that I think that we maybe get emotional about as women or we think too much about, like I mentioned that I joke about how I overthink emails. But to your point, there are so many emails that I'm going to send and I'm like, Nick would not think twice about sending this email.
For sure. But Nick also wouldn't even make a comment about it, unlike other sometimes people.
Everything that I've said in this email is perfectly fine, so let me know. So he's taught me to kind of be confident in that way and not in like, you know, like the manly unemotional way, but just, you know, to kind of step back. And have faith that I'm competent and I'm like
that
doing
you have
the right
like
thing
the professional experience to guide you to make those decisions, right?
Yes, exactly. And then working for the woman that I was talking about earlier, just I don't know, like she is someone that I like will work for again in my lifetime. I'm for sure. Like 100%.
Oh, I love that. I would work for Joanne again as well. So if you want to come to Florida, just kidding. Never really. She was a gem.
But yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to find the words for the time that I spent with her.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't very long, but it was so significant to me because she was one of those people that was rooting for me at the table, that was fighting for me to get the title change because I was already doing that job without having that title, and just, fought for me tooth and nail to get what she thought that I deserved.
Isn't that so special?
It's incredible. And Nick had kind of set that up, but she landed the plane on that for me. And that whole situation taught me a lot too, of just being confident in my worth. Yeah. And so I think, not she saw my worth 100%, but being in the organization, just structure is different. Yeah. Titles are different.
A lot of hoops you have to jump through. Yeah. There's some politics that even come with that too.
Exactly. So I would say that all of my bosses have taught me something that I will never forget. Yeah. In the best ways. And, some have been tough lessons too. Yeah. And arguably those are probably the more important things that I should be remembering. For sure. But yeah, I just think, and even at my last organization, I just had so many women wrap around me and be like, let's go to coffee or let's get lunch. I love to mentor you. Yeah. And so
that's so really special. Cool. Yeah. I so agree. I had a mentor for a really, really long time, and he was a man, and similar kind of plucked me out of this group and just decided to pick me, right? And I also got a lot of these random, all of what I had ever was because of this guy, and I am so grateful for that because I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for him. And
it's crazy.
Same.
The perspective is insane.
Right. And it's kind of always been those two, that woman and that man that really kind of took me under their wing. And, especially when we were so young, and especially at that time, I was, a teenager. Right. 17, 18, 19. I started working there. Yeah. I started working for Veda when I was 18. And, you just never forget those memories.
No, you never forget the people that just stand behind you and that see your worth and remind you of your worth and remind you that you have, so much more to give.
Totally. So,
yeah, those two. I mean, obviously Nick is still my current boss, so I still have a lot to learn from him, however long the universe allows us to work together. Right. But yeah, I'll always go back to the others as well. And
it's just so fun to think about.
It is. It's really cool. And they get it too. I had a conversation with my former boss a few months ago, and we were talking about how I feel so unrelatable sometimes in our friend group. Sure. Because as we were saying, the beauty of our friend group is that everyone has different jobs, and it's so fun. Yes. But at a certain point, you kind of feel like no one gets me. Sure. I'm out of all of us. And maybe one other, Gwen, have more of a traditional career. Yeah. Went to school, got our masters, kind of always knew that we were going to be in these fields. Right. And so it's just, they can relate to that as well. Yeah. Just, you need your, work tribe that gets you, and you need your personal tribe. And when they get to intersect, it's so cool. When we get to do stuff like this. Yes. It's incredible. And I can't think of any, career accomplishment or, school accomplishment that I would have that wouldn't be because of all of the people that I have in both lives. Everyone has supported me doing those things. I'll always recognize that. But it's just funny. It
is so fun. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier, but it is also really cool because, and I know that you know this already, but I've never had a big group of girlfriends of the same age and kind of doing the same thing at the same time. And it's been so fun over the last kind of 6 months, however long, 6 months, a year maybe, of getting to know all these women and similar, having, how many of us in this group are there? 10? Having these 10 girls who are so ride or die for you, who couldn't be more different in a lot of ways, right? Most ways. Right. But to have everyone show up for each other and check in on each other, and there's something really so special about that. Sisterhood, as silly as that word may be or whatever.
No, that's exactly what it is.
It's so cool, and it's so refreshing, and And I've not ever had like a big group of girlfriends. I've always had like my one best friend or my one here or my one here, just because I've always been so busy with work that I've never really even, and I've moved around a lot, right? But being able to have a community is everything. And that's something I didn't know that I was missing until I moved here.
Yeah. And
now I literally can't imagine it any other way.
Yeah. No,
right?
I didn't have it for a while either.
Yeah.
Like, I went to school with majority of them.
Right.
But, now that I do, I can't imagine it.
I know, I can't either.
So I just can't, like, even thinking back on this master's, it takes a village, I'm just gonna like beat a dead horse if I
no.
Truly would not be the person that I am or have completed this master's or done anything in my career if it weren't for the people standing behind me and saying like, go do it, you got it. Like even I'm like going to Tallahassee and like living 2 hours away from my friends. Like they came down to see me. I went to see them. Like just having that support system is so unique. But it's funny because like I can talk to you about my job, but you're not in it. And so it's just, it's fun.
It is so fun.
When worlds collide in that way.
That's why I obviously needed to have you on, because I wanted to know all the hot goss about your job, obviously, because it's so cool.
I hope I made it sound cool and not.
It is cool.
I love it. But.
It is so cool. Talk a little bit about what you guys are doing right now and kind of what your goals look like for the rest of the year, and then talk a little bit about where you see yourself this year.
Yeah. So the strategic plan is our like biggest focus for the year. Yeah. That is going to be completed in the fall, and that's really going to determine where we take the next 5-10 years, which is super cool.
So crazy,
And so in the fall as well, I'm working on a planning week.
Okay.
And so all the teams will get together and kind of do what I did in January, except have some more time to put the pen to paper, define our priorities, redefine our focus area. We're still going to continue doing the same thing of supporting organizations in the health and wellness, health and well-being space. But, being a lot more intentional and strategic about it. Bringing partners to the table and all.
Do you have
that.
like dream partners? Are you allowed to say?
I mean,
is there anyone that you're like, oh my God, I really would love that if that happened?
I think any of them would be amazing.
Sure.
I'm thinking of all of the big organizations and companies that are local, and I just think this is going to sound so cheesy, but I think working with any of them would be amazing, because it's just going to maximize what we can do in the community, and like that's
all that matters. Yeah, right.
So I think in my last job I like met a lot of the big players too, and so I don't feel like I get as like starry-eyed about it. Yeah, but it's so fun. Like one of our board members works for the Orlando Magic.
Yeah,
and
that's so fun.
It's just so fun to work in Central Florida and to be a part of this ecosystem. But anyway, so that's kind of our focus for the year. And then professionally for me is continue growing. I'm going to a conference next month. Okay. I was going to say, but like the internet's weird, and who knows who's listening to this podcast. They're going to like look me up or something.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Not local.
Don't get excited. You have to tell me after where it is.
Yeah, so I'm doing that, and that is in the grant making space. And so I really want to dive into that. Right now, my role is vetting the technology that we're going to use. Because again, just like modernizing what we do, like optimizing our efficiency, automating. Automations.
Yeah.
Automating a lot of what we do.
Yeah, automating
like
is good.
I don't want to keep sending like my own emails.
Yes.
I want to schedule them out. Automating my emails. Just things like that. Ryan shaking his head like, yeah, you ducks.
He's like, I can help you. That's so funny.
So, yes, I'm vetting the technology for that, and then really want to dive into just grant making in the health space. Yeah. And so, I don't know, I want to continue growing, and I want to be a good leader and a good example in my organization. There are some girls there that are my age as well, and like I said, majority are older than me, but it's just fun. I don't know, I always just want to to be able to keep putting like my best foot forward and being a good example for everybody and being a good steward of our organization and a good showcase of what we get to do in the community. So just anything that I can do to continue refining those skills and showing up.
What about education wise?
Oh my gosh.
What's happening next?
Yeah, I keep saying that I'm going to get crazy and go for a doctorate.
Yeah.
If I do, it will not be anytime soon.
You don't think?
It's so expensive.
Oh, is it? I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure.
So maybe we need to work somewhere that would pay for it. But again, like I said, I thrive off of like academic validation. So I can totally see myself going back to school.
Yeah. Do you have a time frame on when you would want to do that by? Like in the next 2 years or 5 years?
5 years.
Okay, yeah.
More. I would like to
you deserve a break, girl.
Maybe a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, she'd like to have a baby.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That's where my head's at. It's just, I feel like now that I have masters off my plate, I can dive into my work so much more.
Absolutely.
And there's so much opportunity because I went to school for, nonprofit management, but being on the other side of it, there wasn't a whole lot of case studies about being the funder.
Sure.
And so now I kind of need to dive into those aspects, which is really fun. So just definitely continue learning, continue going to conferences, all the things, and staying connected. With
if you had
keep me afloat.
If you had a magic wand that you could make any community wish come true because it's something that you're passionate about, what would you change, or what would your one wish be?
I would love to solve food insecurity.
That's good.
That is something that really keeps me up at night. It hurts my heart that people, especially in the communities that we serve, do not even have a grocery store.
Yeah, for sure.
They have no access to healthy food options. So I don't know. I think we're going to continue chipping away in that space. Food is medicine is a big thing of what we do as well. And so I don't know. I would love to make sure that at least every kid has a
it's
meal
so sad.
Or all meals.
Yes.
But really everybody. And Advent Health is doing a really cool thing where they bring out what's called a pharmacy.
Oh.
FARM.
Oh.
Pharmacy.
Yeah.
And so they were at our event last weekend and they literally just set up a produce stand.
That's so
and people
nice.
were so eager and grateful to grab fresh produce.
Yeah.
I think that's in the health and well-being space, maybe not, a super priority. Maybe it is to physicians who are thinking about diet, how that affects your health, but maybe not entirely in the food, scarce space. Yeah. And it's such a big deal. And it really breaks my heart that
it's devastating.
Kids and families that are
down
at
the street
home
from
and
you. Right.
Whose tummies are grumbling when they go to sleep at night. Because then how are you productive at school, or how are you productive at work, or how do you even have a job? All of these things. It really is a trickle down effect. So
yeah, it's so sad.
We'll see what strides we can make in the future.
Yes.
But I think it's really layered. So
I think so too. Yeah, and I think that's one area too where I think regardless of everyone's beliefs, I think we can all get on board of everyone deserves healthy, sustainable food, water, clean water, right? These are very entry level needs,
necessities,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one thing where I used to do a lot of work with Charity Water. And that's something that we all could get on the same page of, right? Everyone on the planet deserves clean drinking water. It's not asking for too much. Everyone can put their own whatever aside.
Right.
And we can all be on the same page of how do we get that for every person in the world? Because it's the
huge.
Bare minimum. Yeah, it does create a ripple effect though to everyone, right? You talk about how do the kids go to school, how do whatever, that was a big part of a lot of our volunteer efforts with Charity Water is these kids don't even have access to clean water. They can't drink water. They can't walk to school. They can't it does affect all these bigger parts of the community, and then the country, and then the nation, and then other nations, right? It does turn into this huge, bigger than life challenge.
Yeah.
And we can all be on the same page for that one, I would say.
Yeah, you would be surprised the amount of people that will turn a blind eye to things that are happening in their backyard.
Right.
And
literally down the street.
Yeah, that's what makes my job difficult.
Right.
But also not, because I get to see the really beautiful side of that.
Right.
And so I feel fortunate that there are other organizations and other people that are recognizing that there are issues and communities that we can wrap our arms around and do better by. And so that's what excites me, and that's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, I hope that, you know, people out there know that there's someone looking out for them.
For sure.
So.
Our girl Kaley over here. She's looking out for you. Okay, I have some silly questions now.
Yes.
Because this is also what I care about. Let's talk about when we're at work. What is the work bag that we're using to carry around all of our crap, our laptops, our lunchbox? From a corporate girly girl who like is the most stylish, what are we using? Are we using the beige bag? Are we using like a big old tote? Like, what are we using?
It's a big tote. And actually, it's so funny because I bought the bag that I carry before I got this job. And it was kind of a splurge. I don't know, it wasn't super expensive, but it was kind of a splurge. Right. And the laptop that they gave me didn't even fit in it. It was too big. And so
Great.
I had to like go to my boss and be like, oh, excuse me. Is there any way I could get a smaller
one, please? Did you get one?
Yes, I did.
Oh, good.
So right now I'm carrying, it's a Dane Dover tote bag, and it's just, I don't know, maybe like their work tote bag. I have no idea what the name is. It's in this really cute bone color, which I feel like goes with everything. Yeah. Has a laptop sleeve, has one of those like cup holder things inside.
Oh, that's so good.
I have to have my bottle with me all the time.
Me as well. It's just for looks.
But I will say, like, work-life balance, I leave my laptop at the office almost every single day.
As you should.
And so most of the time I just have an iPad in my bag that's connected to all the things that I might need, and my notebook and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I've kind of been thinking of downsizing, because it's still kind of like a suitcase.
Yeah, they're heavy.
Like, I could knock someone out with it for sure.
That's like, how I feel with my bag as well.
I feel like I always have to be like, sorry, like, watch out for my bag, or like, I'm so sorry.
And it's so heavy, and my posture is so bad. Yeah.
I'm
right there with you. I'm like schlumped from
but
one
that's
side.
the one that I love. But I do see a lot of people with the beige one or the Go Yard. Or even the Longchamp.
That's what I have. I have a navy one, a big one.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. They're fine, excluding the fact that they just get so heavy because they put all this crap in there.
Yeah.
It's
the
too much.
strap is like the biggest deal to me.
Yeah, it needs to be like this overall.
Almost,
thick.
Right? It needs to be thick.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Yes.
I don't know. I recommend the one that I got if you're commuting
good to know.
with your... Because it's also tall. It's not as wide.
Sure.
And you can condense it, so I like it.
Okay, pro tip. Okay, are we wearing flats at work? Are we wearing heels, or are we wearing like a kitten heel?
I always do like a kitten heel, almost always.
Yeah, not today, but
I do wear sneakers sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
Depending on how casual it is.
Yeah.
But most of my outfits, I feel like, look better with a little
I agree. Just like a little something.
something.
And then
just
it sounds nice too.
Yeah. Gosh, a lot of people comment on. They can hear me walking to the office.
I've always gotten that too.
I'm kind of like heavy-footed to begin with. Like, I don't know. I walk with my heel.
Yeah.
And so then when you wear heels on top of that. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I never would suggest heels to some, like, they are painful sometimes. Like, long days standing in heels
especially
is
big
not
ones.
fun for anybody.
No.
But I just personally feel like they make me feel more professional and more elevated. But I do think you can do that with a flat.
Yeah. As well. Just has to be cute and clean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, and then where are we getting our workwear finds, like our clothes? Are we hitting up Abercrombie, or tell me, where are you finding your cute blazers and your cute trousers?
Yeah, I get a lot of stuff from Abercrombie, Banana Republic.
I love Banana Republic.
Loft.
Loft is good too.
H&M. I mentioned that I thrifted this blazer, which that's
cute.
Not like a normal thing.
Yeah, no, it's so cute.
I do have a couple thrifted blazers.
Yeah.
And I would say those are like my main ones. And I always shop at the outlets.
Okay, have you been to J. Crew recently?
Oh, J. Crew is also
I
on
love
the
J.
list.
Crew.
Sorry,
I follow their creative director, Olympia Garut, I believe is her last name, on Instagram. I'll have to send it to you. She is so stylish.
Love.
I love this woman.
Love.
Seriously, you would like her stuff too. She's so cool.
Because it's hard. Like,
it's so hard.
It's hard to dress, especially like I'm 27.
100%.
And so I still need to dress professional.
Yes.
But I also need to make myself look a little bit more mature. Like I.
Yes.
Like
right.
I belong to be here.
Right.
But then I also want to have my own,
really cute,
little style too.
Yeah.
And so that's also why I shop at the outlets, because I feel like I can buy a lot more things.
Yeah.
And mix around with what I'm doing and have a lot more options. But I mean, everyone needs like black, navy, black and brown shoes, black and brown belt, black and navy.
Yeah,
blazer.
you don't have to make it so complex, but you do need to have your capsule, your skeleton, and then the fun pieces can come. But you do need, a couple of trousers, a couple of blazers.
Exactly. Yeah.
The belt and shoes.
Yes, and
plain
the sneakers
shirts
are fun too. Like sometimes I wear Behas, and sometimes I wear Nike Blazer platforms. And like it just depends on what the vibes are. But, I think there's a space for all the things.
Yeah. I love hearing about people's workwear, because in my corporate world, I was only allowed to wear black. And so I wore black only for seriously almost 10 years. And so moving here was the first time that I've ever been able to wear real clothing, and I don't have a dress code. And let me tell you, the shift between all black, formal, to not has been a game changer for your girl. For real. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I love the business casual, or people are now saying smart business or business. Oh yeah,
I've seen that. Business smart or something. Yeah.
Which I think is just another word for business casual.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I think that space is so fun to be able.
Yeah, I think so too.
To play around, and I like it. You're at work 20 plus days out of the month.
I want to
my workwear closet is half my closet
for sure,
and then my casual everyday is this big.
Yes, and also you just feel better and you do better when you look cute. 100%. And I know that's silly. I don't care what anyone says. I
100%
don't care. Yes. So
I
want to have
my
cute
nails
outfit on.
done. I was literally just talking to my colleague before, and we were talking about getting nails. It's just something that makes me feel good.
You will not get this version of me if I don't feel like that. I'm sorry.
Is it an unnecessary expense? Maybe, but
don't care.
Also not.
It is actually necessary. The nails are necessary. Everything else I can forego. Haven't got my hair done in 6 months. The nails, they are staying.
The nails are staying.
Yes. So. Okay, amazing. Well, what is one final piece of advice that you may have for a young girl who is ready to take on a big job, who has a big heart, who might see some parts that are not so glam, right? What are your pieces of advice, some knowledge that you have for someone who is wide-eyed and ready to go, to also set them up for success, but also be a bit more realistic with them? What thoughts do you have? What advice do you have?
Yeah, I would say what's been a constant for me and what has helped me a lot in my career is staying true to who I am. And so I know that I have a servant's heart, and that, I like to spend my time volunteering, and I like doing all these things. And so I think if you have your set of morals, you're always going to have to maybe compromise a few things here and there when it comes to job. There's not going to be one thing that is absolutely perfect, but you have your set of morals and just kind of your way of doing things, and you stick to it, and you're adaptive, and you're open to critiques and feedback, and you want to continue growing and learning and evolving. Those are I think those are the biggest things. If you're willing to have hard conversations with your boss about true performance things, and where you want to take your career, and also don't be afraid to be open about where you want to take your career. I think it's so empowering for me to say, no, in the next 10 years, I want to be here, I want to be a VP, or I want to be a CEO, or whatever Absolutely. It is. Do that. And go after that. And, don't give up until you get there. And Absolutely. Find the people that are going to help you get there and believe in you. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to your heart. The heart is the biggest thing. If you're sacrificing your personal life and everything else, and you're letting the mental, if you're physically ill at work, I mean, I've been there. It's hard. It's really hard to pull yourself out of those situations. But again, you got to lean on yourself a little bit and lean on your tribe, but you just got to keep going. I don't know. It's constant. I'm so happy to be in the job that I am right now, but it's not comfortable. Sure. And you don't ever really want it to be comfortable. You don't. Because you kind of always want to be going after Absolutely. What's next and what's to come in the future. And whatever your goals are. And so
Absolutely.
Just keep going, babe.
Just keep going, babe. You got it. I know it's hard.
It's tough.
But it will be so worth it.
Yes.
And one day you'll look back and think of how fun and special this time was.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Even if it doesn't feel like it right now. I look at the times I was grinding the hardest as some of my most favorite seasons of my life because it was chaos, but it was so beautiful at the same time.
No, 100%. Yeah.
But it ain't easy, girl. But you got it.
The perspective on both ends of it is it's so important. And
yes, it really is.
You got to tread through the mud a little bit.
Yes, and no one goes unscathed. Okay, everyone has it. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
No one goes unscathed.
And you're gonna, if you haven't hit it yet, you're gonna hit it eventually. Yep. And you're gonna digress and whatever. And also I don't know, just be proud and out loud about your career. Like, I just think it's so fun, and I get encouragement from women and people in general that are just out loud about their passions and their career. And so I don't know, I think it's cool. I think there's a lot to learn always, but just got to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep going, girl. Well, you are such a badass. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited to see the next year and the next 5 years. And seriously, you are so cool, and you do have such a serving heart, and you're so generous. And these organizations in our city is so lucky to have you. And I can't wait to see how you flourish. And you're amazing. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find your company, if they are maybe catching wind of this and they want to partner or they want to donate, whatever. Plug yourself. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yes, well, first, thanks. I'm
of course.
So grateful and honored to be here with you. I'm so happy that the universe brought us together. I'll never forget the day that Alyssa told us that she was going to start working here. And
tell me.
I don't know. I think we all felt a sense of like finally, this is going to be such a good place for you. And it's, tenfold that. And so, I mean, it's rippled across all of us, which is incredible.
Yeah, now you got me too. Yeah.
Never going back.
Never going back.
But Winter Park Health Foundation, WPHF.org. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm most active on there. It's super boring. You can find me at Kaley Morar. And that's really it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I everywhere else?
Yeah, well, that's okay. LinkedIn's more fun anyway.
Yeah. You see the real on LinkedIn.
The real. Yeah. Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here.
No,
thank you, guys. Of course. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Bye.